Hi, I'm Dr. Divina Lopez, a board-certified pediatrician with over 10 years of experience in pediatrics, and you are listening to Dancing into Parenthood. Hello, my beautiful mommies. This is Dr. Divina Lopez, and today I'm here with Vanessa De Jesus Guzman. She is a licensed and board-certified counselor with 16 years of experience in the education and counseling fields combined. She has been a tenured second grade teacher, highly effective middle school counselor, behavioral assistant, in-home therapist, social skills group facilitator, and mindfulness instructor. Vanessa's passion is helping children grow to be caring, thriving, and resilient. She is also dedicated to helping parents and educators build strong and healthy relationships with their kids. The foundation of her work and practice is mindfulness, which is focusing on the present moment with kindness and curiosity. She has her own practice concentrating on children, mothers, and educators located in Ridgefield, New Jersey. Vanessa has also established a group called Amiga Moms, empowering women through a supportive network and mindfulness practice. She enjoys sharing tips and information via speaking engagements, blogging, and social media, where she can be found on most platforms at Counselor V. De Jesus and Amiga Moms. On her free time, Vanessa enjoys being active in professional organizations, salsa dancing, practicing yoga, and laughing with her husband and son, Franco. All right, so what I wanted to discuss with her today is actually how to incorporate mindfulness into our everyday lives. I wanted to share a story with you guys on how I actually was introduced to mindfulness, and that was with my boss. Her name is Dr. Josefina Miranda. She really came into my life at an essential time because I was going through a divorce, and I believe she probably saw how stressed out and how anxious I was and still trying to keep my whole life together. But what she would do with me, and I appreciate this so much about her, and this is why she's my angel, is she would sit with me after work and she would really try to get me to understand why I needed to incorporate some mindfulness into my life and some meditation. And even though I think at first I was like, I get it, she really was trying to convince me, and so she would buy me these little presents. And the first one, I think, was like a CD with like 7 different meditations on them. And to be honest with you, I took it home and I tried to listen to it, and I was like, I can't do this right now. Like, I just wasn't ready for it. I couldn't get into it. I couldn't sit for even like 6 minutes, I think, was the first one. And I was like, I can't do this. There's too many thoughts in my mind. This is just not for me. So I think like a few weeks later, she asked me, oh, did you like that CD? And I was like, I really love the thought, and I really appreciate you trying to help me out. But, that's just not something that I think I'm really into. I told her I was reading this book, which I was reading this book at the time, and I was like, I think the book may be a better approach for me because that's the way I usually inform myself or educate myself. That's the traditional way that I'm used to doing things. So then again, she bought me another CD, and this one was by Marianne Williamson. And this one really focused on like just forgiveness, because she was like, Divina, you have to learn how to forgive and even forgive yourself. And so I was like, okay, let me try again. And so I don't even think I opened it when she first gave it to me, because there were like 2 CDs combined in one thing, and I was like, I can't. This is like just not for me. And one night I remember being at home, and I was just really tired of everything, and I said, you know what, let me go and open up those CDs that she gave me and I listened to a meditation, and finally it was like I could listen to it at least. I don't think I even finished one, but at least I was more open to it. And eventually it became very addicting to me. So I know when I'm not in flow, I can recognize it like really easy now. And what always gets me back into alignment is meditation. And I know there's a lot of different ways to incorporate mindfulness into your life. But I just wanted to give some good advice to new parents, because they usually are very anxious and want to be on top of everything. And sometimes we fake it till we make it. But, I think incorporating the mindfulness into our lives, especially as a parent, can help you be a greater parent, a greater person, a greater partner. So Vanessa, please let us know, what are the ways that we can incorporate some mindfulness into our everyday lives?
Thank you for having me on. First and foremost, I feel so honored for being asked, and we definitely have a good connection with the past things that we've done together. Dr. Divina Lopez here and I did an event early on in September for new parents, which was really informative, and the parents walked away with a lot, and we have great energy. So I totally appreciate you having me on. I love your story. I love it for so many different reasons, and sometimes people aren't ready to accept, mindfulness or meditation, different aspects of it, because they may not know. When we hear mindfulness and meditation, we think of, a little Buddha or, somebody going, and calling it a day and being in a really Zen state, which as moms, especially as new mothers, that's kind of like the farthest point that we are from that Zen state. So I think before anything, it's important for people to understand what exactly mindfulness is and what it is not. So I often, tell people, think about when you're doing something that you love. So as you mentioned before, I love salsa dancing. I love doing yoga, which you can practice mindfulness within yoga, but it's not always just that. It's not always just meditation or yoga. And when you're doing something that you love, for me it's salsa dancing or yoga. For some people it's cooking. It could be painting. It could be just watching TV. Sometimes you zone out, so maybe you're not so mindful unless you're really paying attention that you are zoning out. So when you're doing something that you love and you're not thinking about anything else, you're not thinking about the dirty laundry or the dirty dishes in the sink or all the homework that your kids has to do, or that your kid is crying and crying, you can't get them to stop, or the fight that you just had the night before, but you are only zoned into that moment. And then the extra, the little caveat or the cherry on top is that you're not judging yourself doing that. That is mindfulness. And a lot of people can do that and don't even know that they're in the zone, that they're so focused, they're in the zone. Nothing can distract them because they're right then and there. So that's an aspect of mindfulness. Now, as I mentioned before, we can also be mindful of when we are not being mindful. So when you notice, okay, I'm not with it, I'm not paying attention, I've lost myself, you're also being mindful at that point. And I think that many of us, because of the way that we were raised, or I think really the way society is, that we're either we've got it or we don't got it. There's kind of like a black or white, a wrong or right. And mindfulness doesn't have any of that. It's just kind of just being okay with yourself in that moment, just noticing. And I like to say noticing with kindness and curiosity, because sometimes we so often are so unkind to ourselves, and we have all these thoughts, and we treat so many other people better than we do our very selves, that if we were a little bit kinder and just curious to what am I noticing? What am I seeing? What am I feeling? Oh, that was interesting. Look at that thought that came in. Now I'm going to let it go. And then keep back to focus. That's mindfulness in and of itself. And when we can understand what it is, then we can be open, like you then were in your story, to kind of receiving it, and open to kind of, all right, let me try this out and see where it goes. So that's what mindfulness is. Does that kind of make sense?
Yes, absolutely. And I think I think the best piece of advice that I can give someone who really wants to try to incorporate it is to start with a minute or two. Because it seems like forever. 5 minutes seems like a
lifetime.
You're like, is this still going on? How could this be? because those thoughts, that chatter that's always going on in your head starts to come back in, and you're like, hey, stop. And so like I remember, I think maybe this was like 8 years ago or something like that, when Oprah was doing like the free meditate, like the 21 day meditations with Deepak. Like one of the first ones that came out was like, I'm definitely doing this, right? Because like my friend told me all about it. I was so excited. Yeah, it was like Oprah and Deepak. Like I gotta do this, right? And I didn't even do a whole week. It was so disappointing to me because I'm like, I thought I was so ready for this. I thought I was ready to embrace this new lifestyle, and I wasn't. Like I was like sitting there, remember, like the first few times, and they're pretty long. They're like 15 to 20 minutes. And I was like, no way, I can't keep that chatter out of my head. And so I like I said, it didn't even last a week. But I think, you know, when anybody is starting out, just give yourself a minute and try to handle a minute at a time. And then maybe increase it from there, like little increments. Maybe one whole week, a minute. Next week, 2 minutes. You know, the baby steps really helps when you're getting into this. Because just like you said, you know, you become like judgmental of yourself. And it's like, why can't I focus? And then you're totally missing the point of it. So you have to be very forgiving with yourself in that way, and not judge yourself about what's even going on through your head sometimes. And I like that you pointed out of like getting that thought out. So Heather Ash Amara, she has the Warrior Goddess training book, which I love. That also helped me, and there's a workbook with it. So basically with this book, I like that she puts these thoughts in, she tells you like when these thoughts enter into your head, especially like a negative thought, put a period to it and say that's where it ends, and release it. And that helps so much. Yeah. You know, not to keep that thought inside. Just say, you know what? I'm having this thought. Right. Recognize it. And then let it go.
Let it go like Elsa. Let it go. Let it go.
No, it's true.
It is. It is. It makes such a difference. And understanding that we can be mindful in so many different ways. Because again, it's not sitting and oming. It can be. But we don't have to clear our minds. It's all about noticing what's happening in your minds. So a couple of tangible ways, right? Because there's a big theory, the overall arching theories, and then there's let's put it into practice. What does this look like in real life? Right. So there's so many ways that you can be mindful without making it a thing. And like you said, taking those 1 minute at a time before you increase it. Right. So you can start with just, let's say, everyday mommy thing. Let's say washing the dishes. Yeah. So you're washing the dishes. Really pay attention to how the water feels on your hands, to the temperature of the water. Right. So if you have some funky faucet system, sometimes it gets like a splash of cold and sometimes a splash of hot without even noticing. You know, really look at the soap suds while you're washing that dish. Where are they going? Where does it get more, you know, soapy and bubbly than in other places?
I love that.
Then notice how like it rinses off, you know, how the soap rinses off of your hands and rinses off of the dish. Right. Even after you shut the water off, you can see how like the water keeps on going down the plate. Right. And I know that if this is the first time that you're listening to this, you're going to be like, what are they talking about? Yeah. It sounds insane. Right. But taking that minute, right, or that 5 minutes or whatever it is while you're washing the dishes and just paying attention to the water, to the soap, and the way that things go, whether it be on your hands or on the plates or whatever you're washing, that's mindfulness. Because at that point in time, again, you're not thinking about anything else other than that right there. And if you start thinking about how, I don't know, your mother or your mother-in-law or whatever it is, then you think it, you're like, oh, well, that was, you know, that was very loving, or, oh, she could have been kinder there, and let it go, and then return back to the washing dishes. Yes. So that's just a little example. You can do the same thing Again, a mommy example, while you're changing them diapers. So think about you're seeing a diaper that's just a wet one, and how, how much did the diaper absorb then? I wonder, where it goes. Just really paying attention to what you're doing. And I know this is a little bit gross, but it is what it is. Then when your baby does number 2, look at the consistency, the smell, the what's going on, the funk to it. Because, in those first few months, we're all about the poop and when they pooped and how often and what it looks like.
And vomit,
all over. And just really paying attention to those moments.
Yes.
You're being mindful right then and there. And starting off with these things that kind of sound a little crazy, right? But then eventually, as you practice, you really change your brain. And that's what's amazing about it, is that now there's so many studies and so many things happening that you can really tell the positive impact that it has on your brain.
Yes.
That then, like anything, like riding a bike, you get better and better.
Yes.
You change your neural pathways. And eventually what happens is that you can put that attention onto yourself.
Right.
And what happens is that you grow as a person because you can listen to yourself, to your thoughts, to your heart in a different way because you're getting better at paying attention. Yeah, absolutely. I used to do this with my son when he was a baby, and I try to do it. Well, now he actually meditates with me. Nice.
But I tell parents, like, look into your baby's eyes.
Yes.
And say, I choose love. I choose love. Like, just to, if you're feeling a little funky that day, if you're having a really bad day, one of those days where you're just like feeling a little hopeless, or like, why am I doing this right now? Or even like unsupported. Yeah. If you're feeling unsupported, I feel like this really helps a lot. Look into your baby's eyes and just repeat that one thought over and over again, because sometimes that helps you to focus and like zone in a little bit. And I also think that teaches the baby in a way to learn how to do the same thing, because they are always giving so much love. They're offering it like unconditionally all the time, and they're usually your source of happiness. I know that some days when they're crying and it's a little difficult to do, but I do think that babies feed off of your emotions. They can sense it, and so I do think that helps, and that connecting with one another is so important. Absolutely. And little by little, you can even try it like with your partner if they're open to it. I think that's really nice. Even like touching each other's hearts, like feeling just on the chest. Feel what each other's heartbeat feels like. It starts to like sync up. It's really special. It's really nice. It's a physical way of doing it, and then also incorporating that mental kind of way of tuning in. Yeah, and not only is it helpful for you, but like you said, it's helpful for your child, because what you're doing is increasing their emotional intelligence. Because when, and it happens at a certain month, but when you smile, they smile. If you ever are smiling, and then all of a sudden you put a serious face to a baby, they will notice and they will look at you, and they'll try to kind of find the smile. And if you hold it long enough, they'll get upset because they don't see that smile in your face. And that's teaching all types of emotional intelligence, social skills, skills that we don't set out like in school, well, now it's emotional intelligence time, because it happens in all of these different, it's our underlying factor of everything that we do, that kids are constantly learning. So you're helping your child as well as you're helping yourself. And when the baby is pleasant, right? Because then there's those moments that it could be the source of happiness or the source of frustration. Speaking realistically, but when it's a source of happiness right then and there, that's when you're lost in that moment. You're being mindful right there. And what you can do is then start incorporating different things, like you were saying, maybe having a positive mantra and saying that over and over to yourself in the good times, so that when the source of frustration comes in, or you're really having a rough day, then when you repeat the same thing, then you're believing it. You're not just saying it and kind of like hoping that it sinks in, but you've already said it in a good time, so it'll help you out when you're frustrated or in a challenging time. That's right. Yeah, so many things. This is really great information for the parents. I think it takes a while to understand like how to even set up your family dynamic and everything, and so I know that on top of that, having something else to do may be a little challenging, but I do think that it's so essential for the flow to be nice, for your home life to be better, for your connection with each other as a family. And, you know, just like you said, the emotional intelligence is something that has been studied so much. Mm-hmm. And actually, I was reading something recently about how CEOs are not chosen because of their IQ.
Right.
Usually, it's because of their EQ, right?
Yeah.
Is that emotional EI. The emotional intelligence, because what comes out of that is knowing how to deal with people.
Yeah, the interactions.
Mm-hmm. And that's not something that's easily taught. That's usually something natural that you learn as a person.
Right.
And so when you can actually teach a child this, if you incorporate it and this is your everyday lifestyle, you carry this out everywhere you go. You carry it out with other family members,
with your colleagues.
Yes, and it makes such a difference in the way you bring that good energy wherever you go. Like, people tell me at work all the time, like, when you come in the room, the energy changes. And it's, you know, it's not because I have the perfect life, because I don't. But it's because I have this, I've almost really invested in trying to make every moment the best moment. And I even tell my son that before he goes to school in the morning, today's gonna be the best day of your life. And I truly believe that. Like, you create the life you want. If you want it to be a good life, you really have to be invested in bringing the best all the time, and bringing the best to yourself first. Because if you don't give to yourself first, especially as a mother, it's never going to happen for you. You know, like, no one's ever going to say, hey, you know, here, let me give you this spa day and, you know, go have a week off. And, you know, it's not going to happen. I mean, you know, sometimes just for me, having a cup of coffee is the best thing that I can do for myself. And, you know, I make it myself, and I get to sit down. And I even tell my son, and, you know, maybe if you need a little time out with your baby, like, you know, have someone from your family or your partner or something who can maybe just stay with the baby for a little while, so you can just sit with yourself and have that cup of coffee, like, smell it and feel the warmth of that mug. And just, like, as you take it in, like, how does it really feel? And just breathe for a little bit, because that's all you need sometimes. It doesn't have to be this $2,000 vacation, you know? It could just be that tea that you've made at home, you know? And that can just be connecting with yourself, you know, because there are so many things that are going on in your life as you become a new mom, especially, that in order to balance everything out, you really have to believe that you need to invest in yourself and bring something like mindfulness into your life to help you deal with all the changes, and to really do it in a good, positive way, so that you're happy. Absolutely. And that you bring that happiness to everyone else at home too.
Yeah. It's like the example that they give us on the airplanes. You have to, you know, put the mask on for yourself before you can help other people.
That's right.
And you can't pour from an empty cup.
No.
You cannot pour from an empty cup.
Yeah.
And it's so important, especially as new moms, especially in that fourth trimester that nobody ever tells you about. When you go home, those first 3 months, they can be really challenging. And, you know, you have, I think, as moms, we have this expectation of ourselves almost, of what we have to rise to, that it's hard to meet. It really is. And again, we're sometimes our harshest critic, and we set all these things up for ourselves, that if we just take some time to be in the moment, it can ground us.
Yes.
And when we have that mindfulness practice, even if it's in those short spurts of 1 minute or 5 minutes, what you were talking about, then it impacts our mindset. And then that's where, you know, we come to not having the perfect life, but just having that positive mindset, and even a growth mindset where you're like, I'm going to try new things, and will I fail? Maybe, but that's okay, because that's how I learn. I learn from my mistakes, and I grow.
Right.
And as you grow, and your relationship grows, and your baby grows, when they become school age, and they have the moments of where they can, because they've noticed from you, you know, it's all learned behavior. Everything they do is learned behavior. So if they see mom take some time for herself, and when mom gets frustrated, she takes, you know, not a timeout in a bad way, but she takes a few moments for herself, and that's okay to do, then they're going to manage their behavior in a better way.
Absolutely.
And when they see a tough situation, they're not going to want to throw in the towel and quit quit as easily because they have that growth mindset, and it's okay to fail because that's how we learn. So it's all these different avenues that you're impacting, and it all starts with just paying attention to the present moment with no judgment and treating yourself with kindness and curiosity.
Yes, absolutely. You have to love yourself. You really have to love yourself, and you have to believe in that self-love. It's so important. Okay, well, Vanessa, I think maybe we should end it there.
Okay, it's a lot of stuff.
I think Vanessa and I can talk forever and ever because we just like talking, and we have good information to bring to everyone, and we're excited about doing that all the time.
All the time.
So I want to thank you for coming and doing this with me, and I hope that we do many, many more.
I look forward to it.
I really enjoy, your message and the philosophy that you have. We share. And I think it's important for everyone to hear about these, positive messages that you have to bring.
Absolutely.
And I want to thank you because really you've been amazing since I've met you. I met Vanessa on Instagram.
Yes.
Through Amiga Moms.
The power of social media.
Yes. And she's always just saying yes to everything I ask her to do. And what better kind of person do you want, I said, do you want to do an event? Yes. And we were like on that really quick. And then, do you want to do a podcast? Yes. So I see a lot of like great things that we'll be doing together.
Yes.
I'm so happy that I met you. Very grateful. And, I really appreciate you.
Likewise. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. So you can follow Vanessa. She's on Instagram. You want to say where?
Yes, I have 2 pages on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you hang out. You can find me at Counselor V De Jesus. And my Amiga Moms group is at Amiga Moms.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Vanessa.
Thank you.
Okay, well, have a wonderful, wonderful day, everyone, and thank you for listening. Bye-bye.
To listen to more podcasts, please visit us at drdivinalopez.com and follow us on Instagram at Dr. Divina Lopez. Thank you for listening. Please keep in mind that all advice given in this podcast is general information. To understand your specific situation, you must consult with your pediatrician.